Islam. Bismillah Rahman Rahim. All right. It's your man SaintNickTheMoor, the Moorish mystic, the Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Temple number 20 here in Mountain City, St. Louis. I'm going to make this real brief today. I'm trying to camel back on this topic, Kemetic science versus Moorish science or versus Islam. Man, I don't even know why I'm on this folly, but right now I'm just going to, put my 2 cents in, give my portion of understanding, and just hope I can bring peace and unity to some of these young brothers, our young scholars, who are caught up in some of this folly, arguing back and forth over something that I think we're all saying the same thing. But Kemetic science is the father of all knowledge. We do understand that. So in order to even say you are a Moor or Islam, you have to go back to Egyptology or Kemetic science. We all agree on that. We all can say peace and say yes, that is the father of all knowledge. You can even go back and say the Sumerians' ancient text goes back even further, but it's all the same thing. And when I say it's all the same thing, I'm going to say it like this. Egypt and Israel is maybe 389 miles away. That's the same exact distance from St. Louis, not the exact, but around about the same distance from St. Louis to Chicago. Or even ancient Canaan land. About 300 and something miles away from the land of Egypt. And when I say Egypt or Kemet and Israel or Canaan, guess what? It's all the same landmass. And it's always been the same landmass up until the late 1800s with the creation of the Suez Canal, which was a movement, not just a building of a canal. It was a movement of white supremacy. It was put here to separate the Holy Land from the motherland. And guess what? Africa and Canaan land, Israel, is the same tectonic plate. It's on the same African tectonic plate. Only thing is separating us is a Suez Canal. So when you talk about Egyptology or Canaan or Kemet science, and Kemet, Egypt being the father of all science, that is true. Everything we do now, the study of science, the study of chemistry, algebra, were those Kemet created by the Moors? Well, the Moors are the custodians of that knowledge, but Tahuti and Imhotep, which also Tahuti is also Idris or Hermes. And when you say Idris or Idris, he's also in the Quran. Idris and Hermes, or Thoth or Tahuti, is all the same person. This knowledge, when you talk about Kemet going back, Kemet, you gotta understand, Kemet was arguing and fighting, going through the same folly we doing now with the North and the South, or the ancient Nubians versus the Egyptians. They're fighting. And a lot of times you got people that want to be caught up in that folly, so they leave and land. A lot of people in the Mecca, Chicago right now, beefing and arguing and bickering, and they ready to leave the Mecca. Why? Because they through with the folly. They're not finna be caught up with the goofy. Saying in ancient times, you got brothers that want to worship Amun-Ra. You got brothers that want to worship Atum-Ra, or they want to worship Isis or Aset, and they all come from the same ideology and way of thinking. We all come from one mother, when one breast that ye suck has given us suck. Meaning, we come from one bloodline. We fighting over what? Whose God is the best? Whose science is the high science? But one thing they're not going to do is discredit the Moors. All Moors ain't on that folly sovereignty, trying to get out of paying taxes and child support. All us Moors ain't like that. All us Moors also ain't on that whole Temple Moors. We do the knowledge here in the Moorish Science Temple or the Moorish Divine National Movement. But the same when you go back to ancient Kemet, they was fighting and arguing. It's the same thing we doing now. And those Kemetites at that time migrated to Canaan land, migrated to Persia. Why? Because they was navigators and travelers. Who else is navigators and travelers? The Moors. The ancient Atlanteans are the Moors. How you gonna say that the ancient Atlanteans are the Moors? How you gonna say the Kemetites are the Moors? A Moor is a navigator guided by the light. We go wherever there's peace and love and harmony and unity. We not finna be on this folly. But when you say you a Moor, you are a scholar. You see the scholarship in this tassel? It's scholarship with this tassel. We ain't just fly. We aren't just articulate. It's scholarship when you wear a fez. The same scholarship and the same way that we honor our scholarship is the same way the ancient Nubians or the ancient Kemetites honored scholarship. The Pharaoh Khufu wore a fez. You might not seen the tassel, but it's a fez. Do these brothers not see this? They're master builders. It's not a coincidence that the Moors civilized the whole world. Why? Because we were the custodians, the custodial parents of this ancient Nubian, ancient Kemetic knowledge. The prophet Idris was the third prophet after Adam. Oh, he gonna go back to the Adam and Eve piece. No, Adam and Eve is a race of people. Adam, Kava, Hebrew words for Adam and Eve, or a race of people. They're not just one person. Just because they was born in Gihon or the Garden of Eden doesn't mean that's the main birthplace. There were other birthplaces on this Teutonic plate called Africa or Amexem. It stems from Euphrates. Where's the Euphrates? All the way up in Canaan land. So when they want to discredit the Moors for saying that Noble Drew Ali taught us that we're Canaanites who had dominion in Egypt, it can be reversed. That same role can be reversed. The ancient Egyptians moved to Canaan land to get with the Sabians, the Sabians, the Saba people. What's the Saba people, Saint Nick? The Saba people is the people of the seven. The Sabians were the old ancient Arabs, dark-skinned melanated Arabs, who also had those knowledge of Tahuti, who also called the great God Allah. Look it up. They honored the teachings of Tahuti. Prostration, getting on their knees to pray. Meditation using the zikr. When I say zikr, that is the japa beads, the meditation, chanting, mantras. Where does mantras come from? Ancient Kemet and Kush. It's the same thing, people. So Idris, Tahuti, Al-Qadir, the green one, it's the same person. Enoch, it's the same person. And better than yet, it's the same mind state. So the same mind state out of Kemetic science or the Nubian science is the same knowledge that birthed the religion of Christianity. Christianity at its Coptic ancient time, before it was even called ancient, I would say before the Nicene Creed, you might as well say they was Egyptologists. When you talk about baptism, that was created by the Kemetites. The Egyptians taught you to wash before prayer. Wudu. It's the same thing in Islam. Why are we doing this? The first people to do the circumcision, which carried on in Judaism or the Hebraic, not only came from Kemet, but also came from Sumeria. It's the same people, man. We all on the same Teutonic plate. Our ancient forefathers was on the same Teutonic plate called Amexem, Africa. It's no different from St. Louis to Chicago. My brothers in America may be born in Chicago, and I might have been born in St. Louis, but does that take away us being Muslims? Us being Moors? Us being melanated? No, it's all about your bloodline. So the people of the seven, the Sabbath, the Sabians, the ancient Arabs, they were the keepers of the knowledge of Tahuti. The Sabbath, resting on the holy. Friday evening is the start of the holy. Saturday night is the ending of the Sabbath. You got Israelites beefing with Moors and Islam. When we all are the same people, it's no different than a young pharaoh and a Seti, or a nature boy and a noble. They saying the same things, but they putting their own swag on it, for lack of better words. Our ancient forefathers had their own swag, but they were navigators, guided by the light. So when we fight, bicker, and argue, we get up, leave, set up shop somewhere else. And wherever we lay down, we lay our staff, lay our knowledge down, we create temples and mosques and pyramids. Think about when we traveled over there to the Western world in America. We created the pyramids when we got with the Inca brothers. We are the same people. We built Atlantis, the same builders of Egypt. When we go over to Morocco, the same science of mathematical equations is the same pyramid, the same science that we use in mathematics. You would use the same thing in Morocco that we used in Thailand when we built the temples in Thailand. So the Moors are navigators. That's why when you look up Moor, it'll say navigation. Some kind of sailor or something. An anchor or something. That's because we traveled. We created everything that it has something to do with high science. Where do we get that knowledge from? Imhotep, Tahuti. So our ancient forefathers, as well as our holy prophet, give honors to Egyptology. Noble Drew Ali was an Egyptian adept. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, man. Brothers and sisters, we at war. And guess what we at war with? Not the white man. We at war with our Lord self. We at war with ourselves. We at war with ego. We ego tripping. We try and get fiat different ways by exploiting our people. I'm looking at all these videos and looking like, man, we got to put a stop to this. Come on, family. Let's put a stop to this. Let's unite with our brothers so that peace and happiness may dwell in our Father's house. The Father's house is the mind. You wrecking your mind trying to figure out how you can battle your mans, Umar and Tariq. These are scholars that are battling. Battle your Lord self. That's who you battle. Once you get over that Lord self, then you can build like the Moors, like Khufu. You can build these great pyramids. I'm just going to end on that, man. It's my first video from SaintNickTheMoor, a.k.a. the Moorish Mystic. Mound City Moors. All St. Louis Mound City Moors stand up. This won't be the last video. And peace and love, family.